good, doing good. He is doing a lot better. He's getting around really good on just using a cane now. He just kind of has to use a walker when he's going long distances. So just fine, just fine. Glad to meet you. Yes. Back. Oh, let's see. It was back in late January, I guess it was. Um, they accused son of my son and his best stealing some money. Um, this boy supposedly brought $800 to school, and during basketball practice, he has this money in his wallet. He leaves it in security in elementary, picking up their stuff. So they all put it right there in front of the security cameras. If something goes missing, they know they can see who got it. Now, numerous members of the basketball team pick up this wallet, moving it to get their stuff, because they all take their necklaces, their chains, and all that stuff off. Their keys, they sit their phones down, all of that, right up there in the same place. And so my son and his friend, they sit down there by where all of the stuff is, because my son's friend was on his phone texting his mom. And they're talking. And I don't know if you've ever watched any of the video that I've posted of their basketball games. These two, they talk all the time. They're talking out there on the court. Sometimes I wanted to yell at them, say, don't need to pay attention to what's going on the other end. But they're talking all the time. But and as they're talking, one of their other friends comes up and he's talking to them, and they're looking around, they're gesturing with their hands, they're talking like teenage boys do. Well, the next day, the whole basketball team is called into a room where they have a sheriff's investigator. Now, mind you, most of the kids on this team are under 18. I know, just because of my education and then my training when I was working for child welfare, law enforcement cannot talk to a child under the age of 18 without express permission, unless a parent is present or has given their permission. But they got all of these kids in there, and they're all questioning them about this $800 that was supposedly missing from this boy's wallet. Now, my son wasn't at school that day because he went to sleep with his glasses on and broke them, and we had to go get glasses fixed. And so he talked to his friends, and they told him, kind of what happened. Well, Friday, they only go 4 days a week, so they don't go on Fridays. And so this is let's see. That Thursday morning is the morning that I had to take my dad to the emergency room. So I was with my mom. By this time, they had flown my dad up to Oklahoma City. And I was with my mom. We went up there Thursday night. But I called the school and told them where he was. Well, on Monday, I'm at the hotel up in Oklahoma City, and we're getting ready to call the nurse and check on my dad. And my son calls, and I'm like, what on earth is he doing calling at school? He's calling me to tell me that they just pulled him into the office and told him he was suspended for the rest of the school year because he supposedly stole this money. They didn't call me. They didn't call my husband. They didn't call any of the other kids' parents. They got them in there and questioned them, the high school principal and the basketball coach, and grilled them about this, and didn't call any of us and tell us anything. As soon as he called me, I called my husband and told him to get over there. And then I called my son's friend's mother and asked her, I said, do you know what's going on? She said, no, I don't. And I told her, I said, well, Brett just called me and said that they were being suspended for the rest of the school year. Well, she called down there and told Connor not to say a word until they got there. And I had told Brett when I was talking to him on the phone, I said, you don't say a word. I'm sending your daddy. Because I'm in Oklahoma City. I'm 4 hours away. And so Mike goes down there, and he walked in. He looked at those two boys, and he told them, he said, if you did it, I'll know. And he went in there, and he asked them to see the footage that they were talking about that supposedly shows that they did this. Now, my husband has been working in surveillance for over 15 years, and he worked for the Chocolate. So he is very proficient at writing timelines. A lot of stuff, they use it in court. If they have something that they have to try somebody on, they use it in court. And he looked at that video and he said, it doesn't show anything. It doesn't show them. Oh, yeah, Connor touched the wallet, but so did half the basketball team. And then he told him, he said, that doesn't show anything. Well, there it is right there. They're planning it. See them gesturing around and they're looking around and saying, they do that all the time. They're teenage boys. They kind of have the attention span of a gnat anyway. You're constantly looking around. They're gesturing with their hands. They're doing all kinds of stuff. And then the high school principal says that he's hearing rumors from the students that they went to one of the dispensaries and bought $800 worth of weed and gummies because my son's friend Connor had just turned 18 in December, and that he'd gotten his medical marijuana card, and that's what they did with the money. Well, and he got this in an anonymous letter. Anonymous letter. Meanwhile, we're hearing from numerous people, they didn't steal that money. And then we start hearing, that the boy they supposedly stole the money from, that he sells gummies and weed at school. And we're like, what? My son's best friend got a message sent to her with a screenshot showing him advertising he would be at school for the homecoming game and he would sell.
Dealing during homecoming?
Wow.
Yeah, well, he said he dealt regularly when they were over in the ag building.
Wow.
All the kids knew that they could buy stuff from him. Because his brother and several of his friends had their medical marijuana cards, and they would give him the stuff to sell. And then they jack the prices up on it because they can.
Right.
So anyway, we requested a hearing we requested to talk to the superintendent
Okay.
about this whole thing.
Okay.
And we get up there, and it's I don't know if you remember Tony Garcia.
I remember him.
Okay, this is his wife. He's married to used to be Lisa Atwood.
I remember her.
Okay, this is their son. He and my son are big time buddies.
Okay.
And we didn't know until we got up there that day that Trayson had been suspended too. That's Kevin Williams' son.
Now I definitely know Kevin Williams.
So what you have here is you've got a full-blood Indian,
Mm-hmm.
a half Mexican,
Mm-hmm.
and a boy that's half black.
Uh-huh.
And because they supposedly stole $800, which there is no proof of, they're suspended for the rest of the year.
Wow.
Okay? Now, when we get out there to the school, we had also found out that the day that they supposedly stole this money, or the day before, I can't remember exactly which.
Uh-huh.
One of the baseball boys left from school, and he was flying down the road and had a wreck because he was on his way down to the baseball field to practice.
Right.
And had this wreck, and the principal goes in, and they pull 4 guns out of his car.
Are you? Wow. Seriously, Roxanne?
Seriously. Because it totaled his truck. 2 rifles and I think a couple pistols. Now, back when we were in school, but all of that has changed, and there's a federal law now that prohibits you having a gun within 2,000 feet of school property.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And this boy got told, don't bring those guns to school anymore. And he got 1 day ISS for leaving the school early to go down to the baseball field.
Yeah.
So he didn't get suspended.
Oh, no.
Oh, wow.
And the handbook clearly stated that for that particular offense,
Yeah.
they're supposed to be expelled for a minimum of 1 year.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God.
Well, it's a federal offense. It's a federal crime.
Yeah, right. It is now.
They're close to a school.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
And I don't know if he's 18 or not, but he's 17 or 18. He's pretty close in there anyway.
Okay.
But okay. Now this was a white boy who happens to be dating the former representative's daughter.
Oh man.
Johnny Padlock, that used to be the sheriff. Yeah, he's dating her daughter.
Okay.
So he gets told that, don't bring those guns in, and gets 1 day ISS for leaving class early.
Okay.
So more or less a slap on the wrist.
In other words, a slap on the wrist when our kids get suspended for the rest of the year with no proof.
Well, Roxanne, I've always said this on my Facebook feed. He had the complexion for the protection. You know that.
That's right. That's right. But when we got over there to talk to the superintendent, we had to go in separately because, separate parents, separate kids.
Right.
And Lisa, they showed the superintendent that screenshot where that boy is selling drugs. And then they tell him, and then they come out, and then I go in there, and I ain't gonna lie, I got a little bit loud.
Duly noted.
I was a little bit upset. I told him, I said, I got a little loud. I apologize, and I said, I'm sorry, but I am extremely upset about this.
Well.
And I told him, I said, my kid their son and Kevin Williams' son get suspended for the rest of the year because they have been accused of taking this money, and there is no proof they took it. I know I had gone, my husband and I had gone through my son's room. We had gone through his backpack. Tony and Lisa had gone all through Connor's car.
Of course.
His room.
Yeah.
You know. And I'm pretty sure that Kevin and his wife had gone through that thing trying to find out.
Right.
And so we knew. And I mean, $800 worth of weed, that's a lot of weed.
That's a whole lot of weed.
A whole lot of weed, exactly. That's almost like a brick, and then that's a brick. I mean, not that I know,
well,
I'm just.
The whole thing is, it's enough that you would be able to smell it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, especially whatever this is they smoking now. It got a weird smell to it. So, yeah.
Yeah. You know, and you know, we would have been able to smell it if they had it hidden somewhere.
Right.
Yeah,
but,
you would have.
You know, and I told him, I said, you know, this is just not right, and especially not, and that's when I told him, I said, especially not when the day before a boy left the school here and had a wreck and they got 4 guns out of his vehicle.
Right.
That he had on school property.
Mm-hmm.
And there are numerous witnesses that saw and heard the secondary principal tell him not to bring those guns back to school again. And he did not get one thing done to him for having those guns on school property.
Wow.
And everybody, you know, everybody knew that he had them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no proof that our kids did this, and then ours are going to get suspended for the rest of the year.
Right.
That's just not right.
No, not at all. That's not fair at all.
So, anyway, the boy that they claimed, that they said that they stole the $800 from,
Mm-hmm.
that is actually, I guess technically he's not my son's cousin, but they were raised like cousins.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
His grandmother, this boy lives with his grandmother and grandfather.
Okay.
Well, his grandmother was married before, and her 2 sons are by my brother-in-law, Daryl Clark.
Okay.
So her sons and my sons are first cousins.
Okay, that makes sense.
And this boy, it's actually, his mother is Jody's stepdaughter.
Okay.
But they ended up with custody of them, and they ended up adopting them. And so they, you know, growing up, they've always thought of themselves as cousins.
Okay.
Brett has gone over there, and he's gone over there regularly, and he stayed the night over there. They've come over to our house and stayed the night.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they live literally right around the corner from us, just past my mom and dad's house.
Okay.
So there's a lot of going back and forth and playing basketball, and Jody's son taught Brett and this boy how to play stickball, and so they're, you know, they're raised as cousins, and Brett's like, you know, I can't believe that they would think that I would steal from my cousin.
Wow.
Anyway, and I told him that, I said, they think of themselves as cousins. That'd be like, I don't know if you remember Dee and Jackie. That would be like me stealing from Dee or Jackie.
Oh, I know.
You know?
Yeah, I know, because you guys are tight.
Yeah. So, you know, it was just, it was just really ridiculous that he would have stolen from him, or if somebody else had stolen from him, that he wouldn't have said something.
Wow.
You know, so then the superintendent calls us the next day and offers to reduce the suspension to 1 month.
Really? That's going to help something?
By this time they've already missed homecoming.
Oh man, that's messed up.
The basketball coach, with no proof, mind you, has kicked them off the basketball team, so they're going to miss senior night. They missed prom, their senior prom.
Wow.
I mean, just ruined their senior year. But all of that, the thing that got to my son was, and he's 17. 17-year-old boys don't cry in front of their mama.
That's true.
And he cried and he said, "Mama, they took basketball away from me." He said, "I'll never get to play basketball again." Because, he's not a big kid. He's not going to college. He's not college material,
Right.
He'll tell you that flat out. He don't want to go, and he's not interested in going, and it would be a struggle for him anyway.
Well,
He's just not interested in it.
And that's I'm not surprised at that, Roxanne. I mean, because even though you graduated in '86, correct?
87.
87. Okay, so you graduated in '87. You were valedictorian, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Okay, so it happens. It happens. So yeah.
Well, and the thing is, what they call evidence. My daddy was principal for a lot of years.
Yes, he was my favorite teacher.
He would not have paddled a kid with the evidence that they had. He would not have even paddled a kid with that evidence.
I know it.
And then all of the teachers up there were talking about them. They've all been labeled as thieves.
Wow.
Even though they got to come back to school. Although, I don't know if, I guess Trayson did go back, but Kevin, when I talked to Kevin, the last time I talked to Kevin, before they went back to school, he wasn't sure that Trayson was ever going back to school at Hayward.
Well, I can't say I blame Kevin. I'm just being honest. I mean,
no, I can't either. And but they were told, the basketball coach told all of the other basketball boys not to talk to them or have anything to do with them, because they would be considered accessories if they did.
What? So they pretty much just excommunicated them, like.
Right.
Man.
Right. And they told those boys, when they were trying to get those boys to admit it, that the sheriff's department had all that information, and they were getting ready to file charges, and the sheriff's department's never even talked to our kids.
Wow.
So they was using an intimidation tactic, sound like.
That is exactly what they would do.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole thing is, if you're talking to kids that are, especially those that are underage, and intimidating them like that, and trying to get them to admit to a crime, which can then be, that admission can be used as evidence in court against them.
Yep.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't do that. That you just can't do that. That's not right.
No.
It's against the law too.
Exactly.
You're violating your position of authority over them.
Yep.
Because here you are. You've got the principal and the basketball coach both telling them that. But yeah, they pretty much, they told, well, Beverly Williams told me that, Beverly Brown, she told me that Stephon had told her that the coach had told them that if they had talked to, if they even talked to those boys, they could be considered accessories.
Wow.
But I can tell the difference. I mean, Brett went on back to school, but see, the teachers were all talking about him. There were a couple of teachers that were like, no, they didn't do that. And it'll be proven they didn't do that. And sure enough, then it came out about the whole selling drugs at school. I don't know exactly how long he got suspended for, but he was back at school within a couple of months.
Wow.
And I mean, they had the proof he was actively selling drugs at school. They searched Jody's car and they found the drugs in her car. She was livid.
I could imagine.
But he didn't even get suspended as long as they originally suspended our kids for.
Of course not.
But he's white too.
There you go. That's why.
So did you explain to your son really the real ramification of what happened, or you just left it as? Well, how did you leave it? What did you say? How did you explain it to him?
Well, when we first found out about it, like I said, I was still in Oklahoma City at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I told him I'd be home that night, and I told him that his daddy's on his way. My first thing was to protect him, and I just told him, I said, you don't say a word until your daddy gets there.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I said, you don't say anything to anybody until your daddy gets there. If they ask you anything, you tell them they need to talk to your dad when he gets there.
Mm-hmm.
And but I told him, the thing with my son is, we have always taught our kids, in a perfect world, skin color, where you came from, any of that would not matter.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is not a perfect. But this world is not perfect.
No, it's not.
Mm-mm.
And and I mean, part of the when they were in high school, I had I don't know if you remember Sean Lewis from over at Eagletown.
I do. I do.
Okay. His son Kelvin lived with us for about 2 or 3 years. And because Sean's had some trouble. He'd been in prison, and he did not get along with his mom's boyfriend. They got into an actual physical altercation. He didn't tell me that until he was graduated. That was part of why he came to live with us. But he just asked if he could live with us, and I told him yeah. He was over there half the time anyway. It just made it official that he was living with us.
Hey, Roxanne, real quick, Roxanne, didn't mean to cut you off. Leslie Deloney has a question. He wants to know if any of the white kids he touched the wallet on video.
Good question, Les.
I didn't actually see the video, but I'm pretty sure they did, because all the kids were up there. They were all up there moving their stuff around.
Right.
To get, like I said, they were picking up their phones, they were picking up their chains, they were picking up their wallets, because all of them left their stuff right there in front of that video camera. All the kids knew that the video camera was there. And that was the specific reason why they put their stuff there.
Right.
Because like I said, they had trouble with elementary kids stealing their stuff.
Right.
My oldest son, when they were practicing over there in the elementary gym, had a brand new iPhone stolen.
Ooh.
By one of those elementary kids. So that's part of the reason they put those cameras in right there.
Okay.
Because of that.
Okay.
But yeah, I always told those boys, I said, you have to be, and I said, it's not fair and it's not right, but you need to be above reproach, so that they don't try to pin stuff on you.
Right.
And I said, if you're ever out somewhere and the police come up, you be respectful, you do the yes sir, no sir, or yes ma'am, no ma'am thing. I said, you don't make any sudden moves. And I've coached them on how they need to interact with authority because of the way things are.
Exactly.
And I mean, my husband, he had trouble all through school with people. Well, especially when he was in elementary, they would just kind of ignore him when he asked a question.
Yeah.
Because there were other, he was just kind of ignored and shoved to the side. But these boys, when they were in elementary school,
Mm-hmm.
there's a group of teachers over there that started calling them the crew. Because
Okay.
they said if anything was happening, the crew was always involved.
Oh man, really?
Mm-hmm.
And they started this when they were in about fourth grade. I didn't know anything about it, but Mecca Wortham is the one that told me about it. And she is the reason that Brett didn't fall any further behind than what he was. And well, she and Mrs. John, because he couldn't do the math, and they wouldn't. None of them would take time to work with him on it.
Damn, that's messed up.
And I couldn't help him because there's that new math stuff, and I learned math.
Right.
I did all of that stuff under Barbara Alford, where we went up and we did our flashcards, and if you missed so many in a pile, then you got a lick for it. So I learned mine real quick. It was that whole butt to brain connection thing.
Right, exactly.
But,
I remember those days, Roxanne, because my 10-year-old grandson, well, he's 10 now. At the time, he was like 8. He came up to me with that new math crap. Now I'm looking at him, and excuse my language, I told him you went all the way around the ass just to get to the hole, man. So
exactly. Exactly. But with Brett, the only teachers when he was in elementary school that really took an interest in him and in his academics.
Yeah.
From the time he was in 3rd, 4th grade, was Carol and John, who's Indian, and Mecca Wortham, who's black. And Mecca is the one that told me about them calling those kids the crew.
Wow, that's messed up.
And so they were labeled before they ever even came over to junior high as being trouble.
Wow. Well, Roxanne,
let
me ask you a question. I always like to play devil's advocate on the show. How do you even know that $800 even in his wallet? He could have been lying. If he's a drug dealer per se, he could have been doing that so he can get some more money to buy some more drugs.
Exactly.
I mean, how do they even know?
That was my whole thing. How do they even know that?
Exactly.
Because for one thing, he was advertising these gummies and these edibles and weed that he had. He bought that with something.
Yep.
Wow. So my thing is, after the conclusion that I'm getting from your story, the school system failed those kids.
Oh yes, they did.
They done probably put a stain on them that they'll probably have on them on the back of their mind for the rest of their lives.
Yep.
And like your son said, he'll never play basketball again.
Yeah.
So why would they even? I mean, what ramification can they give them to justify that? Is it justifiable?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not based on Now I've always been one. If my kid's done something wrong, then they're gonna suffer the consequences.
Right.
Of course.
That's the way I was raised.
Right.
But in this case, they didn't do anything wrong, and it changed my son.
Wow.
I can imagine it did, man, because that's a stigma he'll never really be able to live down now.
He really. I mean, he got to the. He has. let me put it to you this way. He went to. They have at the First Assembly of God Church there. They have on Wednesday night, kind of like a youth group thing.
Yeah.
And there's this boy that he doesn't go to school anywhere because nobody will take him because he's been in so much trouble.
Yep.
Well, this little boy, his sister, liked Brett, has a thing for Brett.
Okay.
And he had been texting Brett and telling him to stay away from his sister and threatening him and everything. Well, he told him that night, he sent him a snap that night, and Brett didn't tell us anything about it. So he sent him a snap, and he said something about, well, it's on tonight. I'll stick you tonight, or something like that.
Wow.
Well, right after the service was over, after the closing prayer, and they are still in the building, mind you, Brett just goes over there and clocked him.
Mm.
That's what I'm talking about, Brett. That's what I'm talking about.
He just goes over there and clocks him. Now,
I don't
again,
advocate violence, but hey, I'm with Brett on that one.
this boy, he's been threatening me. He's been saying he's going to do it, and Brett he just goes wailing on him. They had to pull him off of him.
Hey, I ain't mad at Brett.
And yeah, Brett was mad. They had to pull Brett off of him.
Yeah.
And anyway, so I'm getting out of church, and Brett calls me. He says, "Mommy, you need to get out here. I got into a fight at church." And I'm in the church building at this time.
Right.
Our church building.
Right.
And I'm coming. I get out to the van and I call him back and I said, "You better be kidding me. You had better not got into a fight at the church building."
Lo and behold, he did, huh?
He sure did. He sure did. And
Wow.
I got out there and I told him. And here's the thing: I get out there, and one of the people that was there is one of the school board members.
Right.
And he said, "Well, he's already been in this trouble for this." And I looked at him and I told him, I said, "Listen, that whole thing there, nothing was ever proven against him. There was nothing on that video that proved he stole that money."
Right.
I said, "He didn't steal that money. This he did. He shouldn't have done it. He shouldn't have handled it this way, but he did it.
Yep.
But you don't get to use that against him on this."
Wow.
And they called the police and everything, and the police talked to him, but the and he told Brett, he said, "That's assault. He said, they can charge you with assault." He said, "I mean, you're 17, but they could potentially charge you as an adult for that because you hit him first."
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, then I said, "Yeah, but he has been threatening him and harassing him and telling him he's going to beat him up on social media for a month now." Well, he went down there and talked to them and said and asked them if they had done that. And he talked, and the boy wasn't going to say he did it, but
Of course he didn't.
his sister said yes, he did.
Wow. His sister
And,
dined him out.
Yeah, and he said he told him, he said, cyber stalking and cyberbullying is very serious.
Yes, it is.
And he said, "You can be charged for that."
Mm.
Well, his mom decided they weren't going to do anything with any pressing charges or anything like that.
Okay.
Which was good. But,
Yeah.
it really aggravated me that they used what they claimed happened against him in this instance.
Right.
And that's not the first time that. Well, of course, that kid didn't go to school at Hayworth. But when Brett was in 8th grade, there was a boy that kept bullying Brett, and he stayed after school one day because they had a basketball game, and he was there in the store getting him something to eat, and that boy said, "Well, come on, let's." They went around behind the back of the store there, and that boy swung at him first, and Brett said, "Mama, I hit him till I got tired, and then I got up." And then the boy jumped up and said, "Okay, round 2." And he said, "So I'll hit him again."
Mm-mm.
Damn.
And Danny Carter was his basketball coach. And
Okay, Danny
Yeah.
Carter. Yeah, he was. Yeah. Danny Carter used to be the elementary basketball coach at Tom. I remember him.
Yeah. Well, he was his basketball coach, and Brett got out there warming up, and he went over there. And he told him, he told Mr. Carter, he said, "Mr. Carter, I can't play. My hand's hurting and I can't shoot." He had a boxer's fracture on his knuckles.
Ooh, I know how that goes. I've had that before.
So, but and even then, he got in school suspension for that. But they blamed him for it when that boy had been badgering him and trying to bully him for 2 months. And he had told the principal, he told the teachers, and nobody did anything until after he beat that boy up over across the road.
Well,
you know, but you know, I remember when I was in school, and the census at Hayworth has gone down a lot since we were in high school.
Yeah.
Their graduating class this year was a little over 40 students.
Really?
So, I mean, it's gone. Like I said, the census has gone down a lot at Hayworth.
Wow.
And you know, I can remember 2 years ahead of me, they had 84 in their graduating class. Ours was a small class, and we had about 50. And with all those students there, my dad knew everything that was going on.
Mr. Bow knew everything and everybody. That's the thing about Mr. Bow. That's what I loved about that man. You know, he knew everything and everybody and what was going on in their lives. So, you know, your pops, man, he was very beloved at Hayworth, man. Everybody liked Mr. Bow.
Well, the thing was, you know, with him, I remember him and he and Herman Horn. You know, Herman Horn was a superintendent.
Right, I remember. Yep.
They got into a big argument. Scott, Herman's son, had gotten into a fight with Sean Fox.
I remember that.
You remember that? Okay. Herman decided that he was going to paddle Sean, and Daddy told him he wasn't either. He said, "I'll paddle both of them, but you're not touching me." He said, "You want to paddle Sean? Fine, but I'm going to call, I can't remember Sean's stepdad. He was McKinney. He said, I'm going to call him, and he's going to paddle Scott." You know, they had words over it.
I believe it.
And Dad told him, he said, "We can take it to the school board if you want to, but you have no business paddling that boy."
Right.
But, you know, I think that's the difference, that kids knew that regardless of who their parents were, what their background was, what their skin color was, with him, they were all going to be treated the same.
Oh, yeah, that's what I liked about Mr. Bow. Everybody got the same exact treatment. There was no difference between anybody.
But it's not that way now.
I believe it.
It's not that way. They have almost no minorities other than females. But that's the only thing. There's in that high school, there's not, I don't think there is a single black teacher. David Boyd, who that's Tony Garcia's nephew.
Yeah.
His sister Vicky's boy.
Yeah.
He teaches history.
Okay.
He teaches history. But other than that, if they've got city ID cards, they're paper cut Indians. You know, the ones that if they get a paper cut, they're going to lose all their Indian blood.
Yeah. Yeah. I call them $5 Indians. That's what I call them.
Yeah. Well, my husband and all of them, my husband and his family, they all call them paper cut Indians.
Yeah.
If they get a paper cut, they're going to lose all their Indian blood.
Exactly. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But other than that, you don't have any minorities in the high school anymore. And when we were in school, you know, there was my dad, there was Ricky Alford.
Yep.
There was, I'm trying to think who.
It was Ricky Alford, your pops, your uncle Danny. Let me see who else.
Edward Alford was the.
Yep, Edward Alford. Yep.
Down there.
Yeah, it was quite a few. You know, Miss Teresa Ford. Teresa Ford. You know, because she was a teacher there for a minute.
Yeah. There was Teresa Ford. There was Miss Swinton and Miss Terry.
Yep.
But you know, there were we, and Jockey Dale Martin was there. He's
Yep.
Indian. But they don't have that now.
Quick question, Roxanne. Leslie put up Robert put a good point in the chat room. He said, "How long has it been this way? Do you have any idea?"
Well, of course, I just know from when my kids were in school,
Right.
because I didn't really go to the high school a whole lot after Dad left. After he retired, and well, Katie was gone before he retired even. But it was, I would say that it was kind of moving that direction before my dad left. I know he said he couldn't teach out there now.
Right.
Of course, Dad would do things like, I can't remember who it was, but he lived with his grandma, and she died about halfway into his senior year. And he was working nights. He was working swing shift over at Tyson's.
Uh-huh.
And if he had to work over and stuff, he would be so tired when he came in. Dad had put him in library library and office the first 2 hours.
Oh,
Right.
Wow.
And when he'd come into school, and the reason he did that is because he was sleeping those first 2. He would sleep. He'd go to sleep.
Okay.
So Dad moved him to office and library so that he'd put him in there in his office.
Yeah.
And tell him just go ahead and sleep.
Ah.
Very honorable.
Yeah.
Very honorable.
But that wouldn't happen now.
Mm-mm.
No, it wouldn't.
Now a kid in that situation, they just kind of be up a creek.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
And he was over 18. He turned 18 in the fall semester. So, it's not like he could get any help from any kind of youth services or anything like that.
Right.
Okay, he's considered an adult.
Yep. He's an adult after
Yeah,
that.
he'd be considered an adult.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, like I said, this was before I got in high school that happened.
Okay.
And but he went ahead and he graduated. He's been working for the county since a few years after he graduated.
That's what's up.
Really?
I run into him a lot of times because he's on the road. They pretty much have him. He's got his own truck for the road crew. I run into him all the time on the road.
Wow.
And see, Roxanne, that's what I was bringing up on one of our previous podcasts. Teachers back then took accountability for the children like they were their own children. I don't know if this is because of the rigmarole with the school district now, but these teachers, to me, what I've seen and what I've heard, they do the bare minimum. And I'm wondering why is it that they have their backs against the wall because they can't go against protocol of the district, or is that they just don't care? They're just there for a paycheck.
Well, I know that there has to be easier things to do for a paycheck.
Yeah.
Yeah, because dealing with somebody's child for 8 hours, I will pass. I mean, personally, I don't think I could. A lot of people tell me that I should have went into teaching, but these kids today, this is a different breed out there these days.
It is.
It's a different breed.
They're dealing, especially in elementary, when you're looking at elementary, when they're first starting into school, and you run into the problems of you've got so many kids now that are coming into the school system that are drug affected.
Yes.
It's causing a lot of problems because of that have those individual education plans. Well, each one of those kids that has an IEP, you have to do a separate lesson plan for that child. And then you run into the double problem of, okay, you got this drug affected kid who has a not so good home environment
Yeah.
probably not going to be getting any kind of discipline
Right.
or education assistance at home.
Right.
And you've got to try to train these kids on how they're supposed to behave in school.
Right.
Well, by the time they get up into junior high and high school, you've got kids that they have an unbelievable amount of freedom at home
Yep.
to do what they want, when they want,
No
and whatever they want.
No discipline whatsoever.
No discipline, no consequences, nothing.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to make them behave at school. And I think one of the big problems is the classroom disruptions. And then you've got the added thing of social media out there.
Oh yeah.
Where you've got all kinds of things going on that you're not hearing about because it's all on those electronic devices.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
What they call cyberbullying.
Right. And I really think that part of the time the teachers don't know everything that's going on with these kids.
Right.
Or they just feel like, okay, well, that's not as bad as something else, so whatever.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
When I worked in child welfare, I know that when we would get, I did investigation, and we would get a call of drug use. The allegations were drug use by the parents. Let's see what the drug was. We'd just almost be relieved if it was marijuana. Because we knew most of the time if it was marijuana, there's going to be food in the house anyway.
Yep.
For the munchies.
For the munchies, there was going to be food in the house.
They had a fighting chance to be okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and it generally, if they're smoking pot, they're not violent.
Right.
It's usually more of a neglect type case rather than an abuse type case.
Right.
But if the allegations were meth, we always had a police officer go with us. Because
Wow.
you never knew what you were going to walk into.
You ain't kidding. You ain't kidding. But
And one of the few times that I walked into a house that I didn't call police to come with me because I had 2 workers that I was training with me. I walked into the house and I could tell they had just cooked a batch because I could smell
you
it.
could smell it, couldn't you?
Jeez.
And as quick as I could, we got back out of there because, that stuff's toxic.
Very.
And you walked in and you could smell the acetone, and it was kind of like, there ain't nothing in this house been painted for 50 years.
Right.
There was no painting going on. So we just got out, and I went around, and I drove around the corner and called my supervisor and called one of the deputies, and I said, yeah, I might want to go take a look at this house. I'll sign whatever you need me to sign. I'm just telling you, it smells like acetone in there, and there is no painting going on.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So, but those kids, this woman's kids, they would go back and forth between her house and her ex-husband's house.
Right.
When he got on to them about something, or they were getting in trouble about something, they went to Mama's house because Mama didn't care.
Oh, of course.
Now, she got high, screaming and hollering and whatever when she was on meth, then they went back to Daddy's house. Or they got hungry, they went back to Daddy's house.
Wow.
Meth heads don't care if they got food or not.
That's true.
But that, and you're dealing with kids in that situation who really need some extra time and some extra attention just to get their work done.
Yep.
But you've got these other kids that you're trying to prepare for a college and everything else, that they're just having to sit there and wait while you deal with this. And you can't separate them anymore. They're even though all of the data shows that they do better.
Yeah.
You got to mainstream them all.
That's
Right.
right.
They really need to. They really need to be in a class where they don't have any distractions and they can get that one-on-one work.
Exactly.
But you can't do that. You can't do that anymore. They all have to be mainstream.
That's true.
I know when I was in school, we had this one hallway. Everybody knew what the hallway was called, the D hall, and everybody knew that was considered, quote unquote, the special ed hall. And
Right.
they were all in the same classroom. They learned at a different pace than we did, but it wasn't none of this. Oh, he has ADD and she's on this kind of mental health medicine. They went ahead and evaluated the children and realized, okay, they're not able to be in a regular classroom with other children, so let's just
Right.
put them in a hallway with their, consider in the same class with some of their own peers. So why would they
Right.
lump all these different characteristics into one class and expect these teachers to be able to teach these children? Is unbelievable to me. Unbelievable.
It is to me too, because it causes problems for the kids because they know that they're not doing the same work everybody else
Absolutely. And to me, that's when all
and
the
everybody
bullying
else
comes.
does. What it does is it exposes them to potential ridicule
Bullying.
because everybody knows that they're not
Yep.
doing the same stuff.
Yep. Yep.
You know, and but that and that boy that my son got into a fight with when he was in 8th grade, he was one of these kids that he was a special needs child. He was drug affected.
Okay, that answers a lot of
He was drug
questions.
affected.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And he did, he lived with his grandparents because they had taken him away from his mother. And, but then you put these kids that have issues with anger and aggression in a classroom with a bunch of other kids. And then they also have learning disabilities too. You're just asking for problems.
Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster right there.
Yeah.
And they probably
And,
don't learn on the same pace as other children. Then they become
No.
embarrassed, and then they become the bullying the other kids.
Right.
It's like it's a domino effect.
Right.
It's
Right,
it's awful.
right.
It's really awful.
It is.
And so now
Well,
now I'm questioning my original question to you. We can't really blame the teacher because they're doing the best they can do with all the adversity in their classroom. So I recall my question and just say we need to give teachers more kudos because they got to put up with that every single day for 5 days. That's wow. Wow.
Yeah. It makes it really hard. And then when you add in the racial diversity
Yep.
and the fact that, I mean, a lot of people realize that even in the United States today, with families that have been here 2 and 3 generations,
Right.
there is still some cultural differences.
Oh, no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, when you're talking, and even like, for instance, among Native children, from one child to another, from one tribe to another, there's gonna be some differences. There are tribes, that they consider it very disrespectful to look someone in the face
That's
when
right.
you're talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have teachers that, why aren't you looking at me?
Yep.
What do you want? But my daughter, we got her when she was just going into 10th grade, I think.
Yeah.
And her experience was different. She went to it's a high school there in Anadarko that is it's a federally run Native high school.
Okay.
And most of the teachers there were Native,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a lot more. They had a lot more support because it was a residential school.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't like the residential school that my mother-in-law went to. She went to
Uh-huh. Yeah, I got you.
Where they got whipped for speaking their native language there, but at Riverside, they encouraged them, to learn about their tribes and their culture and their history. And you had kids of all hues there. I mean, if they were eligible to be a member of a tribe, then they could go there. So you had kids from all over the United States there that ranged from being a quarter or less Indian to full blood.
Right.
And there were several that were. I mean, you had kids that were mixed with white, mixed black, mixed Hispanics. But they were able to kind of what brought them all together was the fact that they were all Indian.
Right.
Regardless of whatever else they were all Indian.
Right.
And I mean, you're talking about teenage girls living together. There's going to be fights.
Of course.
She got sent to the disciplinary unit a couple of times for fights.
Okay.
That's Brett's full blood sister. So.
Right.
But they were able to bring the kids all together. Find something common to bring the kids all together.
Yeah.
And what I don't understand, what really bothers me with a lot of this, a lot of the racial problems that we have right now, is it seems like that they're trying to divide races instead of help them find something common to come together.
You know what, Roxanne? I agree with you on that 100% because I'm like you. I'm of course the black is the obvious thing. I'm 1/8 Seminole on my mom's side and 1/8 Cherokee on my dad's side. So we're all pretty much. And me and Mimi were talking about this earlier. We're all pretty much mixed up anyway. To be completely honest with you. So
exactly.
So what's the difference?
Exactly. I mean, the Filipino was always obvious because of my last name.
Right.
But there's white, and then I always suspected it, but it really surprised me when I got my DNA back that I'm actually, I don't know exactly what it would be. It'd be close to a quarter black. But I always thought that would come in on my dad's side because actually my dad's DNA, it did show up a little bit of African ancestry. But
yeah.
In the Philippines, they have this tribe called the
Negritos. Yeah, the Negritos.
And he suspects that comes in from there. But where my black blood comes in is on my mama's side through the Lewises.
Really?
Yes.
Cool.
And actually, I'm distantly related to President Obama.
Wow.
On his mother's side.
Wow, that's cool.
On his mother's side.
That's pretty cool.
The Lewis there's a Lewis that we are both descended from, him on his mother's side and me on my mother's side.
Okay.
And he fought in the Revolutionary War. But that's the side that's where the black blood in my ancestry comes from. It's really funny. We're related to each other, but it's not through the black blood, it's the white blood.
Wow.
But that is the family that I get the black blood from.
Oh, okay.
But when I was in high school and I kept books for the boys basketball team, I'll never forget. We were walking in up there at when we were playing at state when I was a sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd gotten ready and we were going in, and when we go in, there's David Carroll and Ron McKeever.
Remember those guys.
And then there's Sean Fox.
Yep.
And everybody else on the team's black.
Right.
And then, I can't remember what his name was. Green. His last name is Green. He carries in the warm-up in that big trunk, and me and Joyce Williams.
Uh-huh.
And we're walking in there. We walk in behind Danny, my Uncle Danny, and we're walking through there, and there's this woman sitting up there, and I was wearing a beret, a black beret.
Right.
And she says, "What does that black girl have on her head?"
Mm-hmm.
And George was walking beside me, and she said, "I think she's talking about you." I
Wow.
said, "Oh well, of course I had my hair in a perm then, and it real tight curls and stuff, and I was always pretty dark.
Yeah, you
She
were.
had no idea.
You were.
She thought I was black too, and come to find out, I am a little bit.
Just a little bit.
But as a woman of color, I really resent it when I hear people try to separate us based on our skin colors or even our religions. I resent it because I feel like they're talking down to me, like they're trying to promise me something to get my vote because I'm not smart enough to figure out things on my own.
And we know better than that. Come on now.
That's the way I feel. When they say that, I'm like, oh, really? You're not really being that condescending towards me.
Oh yeah.
Thinking that I don't know what you're doing.
Oh yeah, they do it all the time. You already know they do it all the time. They do that all the time to black people. I mean, look at who we got in office now.
Yeah. Well, and that, and I like I said, I really, I guess politicians have always done that to different groups of people.
They do.
But it has just really gotten so obvious and so egregious in the last 15 to 20 years.
Yeah.
It is really just beyond me. I mean, right now, the problems they're having down at the border.
Mm-hmm.
All of that, that whole thing of come on across, we're not going to do all this stuff that they were doing. That is a blatant attempt to buy Hispanic votes.
That's all it is.
And the Hispanics that I know are smarter than that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what he thinks he's doing. The ones of us that are able to vote, we're going to vote against something like this.
Exactly.
Because we did it the right way.
Yep.
Exactly.
I'm with you on that.
That's one of those things that really bothers me because, that's what my grandfather did. He did it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
There's a way you're supposed to do things like that. And yeah, sometimes it takes a little while to get it done. But you gotta be patient and you do it the right way because, well, the Supreme Court just came down with a unanimous ruling. And Justice Kagan wrote the opinion on it that if you come into the United States illegally, the law says that you're not eligible to apply for a green card.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's she said that these people had no basis to file this lawsuit because they were from El Salvador. They'd come here illegally. And then they have these temporary orders, whenever there's a lot of political strife or natural disasters, that sort of thing, where you don't send people back for a little while.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They can get a work visa to work for that short period of time that temporary order is in place.
Okay.
But then they're supposed to go back. Well, they never went back and they applied for a green card.
Yep.
And what her opinion said was, you can't do that. You violated the law. You came here illegally. You got to stay here because we weren't going to send you back with a situation like that. But now you need to go back and you need to do it right.
Hmm.
And that makes sense. That makes sense.
Well, and the people that I've talked to that are immigrants that have come here the right way, nearly every one of them I've talked to really resents what's going on right now.
A lot of them do.
Yeah, and what worries me about that whole thing is having been in child welfare and having the last year I was there, I worked in um, licensing foster homes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they've got 2,000 kids a week coming across that border and they've only got 400 and something in custody, where are they sending these kids?
Good question.
And how much do they know about the people they're putting these kids with?
Right.
Good question.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know for me to license a foster home, to do the background checks, to do all the research into that home, and to make sure that was going to be a safe place for that child, it took me a minimum of 30 days to license a home.
Mm.
And usually it took me closer to 45.
I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine last night. Everybody keep talking about Atlanta has a problem with sex trafficking. Texas is coming up very fast on the map with sex trafficking of young people. And by those young men and women, it's boys and girls that's coming across.
Yes.
Boys and girls are getting into sex trafficking. That is sad. So now you wonder
Well,
where they
and
are. They're probably there.
Yep.
Yeah. Oklahoma is one of the biggest states in sex trafficking.
Yes, it
Oh,
is.
it is
Oh,
really?
yes. Yes,
I
it
didn't
is.
know
Yes,
that. I
yes.
knew about Texas, but I hadn't heard Oklahoma.
Oklahoma too. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus.
Well, you've got that intersection of what is it, 30 and 35 and 40
Yep.
there in Oklahoma City,
Yep.
and then you've got it there in Tulsa. And what they do is they come up and they bring them to these casinos.
Yep.
Nobody questions why anybody's at a casino,
Yep. Exactly.
Wow, that's
but they've got these
awful.
casinos, and most of these casinos now are building big hotels with them, and they bring a stable of kids and rent them out. I mean, they've busted several sex trafficking rings in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, and one in Tahlequah.
Wow. That's pretty sad.
Yeah.
Well, Miss Roxanne, I got one more question before we let you go because we have really enjoyed you. We really have.
Absolutely.
But I got one more question. How is Chubby Cheeks doing?
Oh, Chubby Cheeks is doing great. She's up to a little over 30 pounds now.
Wow.
Who's Chubby
And
Cheeks?
she
That's her
is
granddaughter.
the boss.
Oh. How old is
the
she?
boss, let me tell you. She's 10 months old.
Oh, cutie
But
patootie.
her life is about to change in about 6 weeks.
What's happening?
Her mama's having another baby in about 6 weeks.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and she is very jealous of her mama.
Mm-hmm.
And her mama's going to be having a C-section, so she's not going to be able to pick her up for about 6
No,
weeks.
not for a while.
Oh, wow.
Not for a
No,
while.
and they're definitely not going to let her pick up a 35-pound baby.
Of course not. No. No.
So
No.
Mama's going to be able to pick up little sister, be able to pick her. And Chubby Cheeks has a 10.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
No.
She's been the only one all this time, so she's gonna be like, "Who is this? Where this person came from?
Exactly.
Where you, go on now, go on
Right.
go on, go back where you came from."
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but Chubby Cheeks she's doing real good. Well, you saw that video I posted today
Yeah.
of her bossing her poppy around.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's one of her favorite things to do is boss Poppy.
I'm not surprised.
She
That's
does a good job bossing me too.
you know what? I'm not surprised, Roxanne. Is that your first grandchild, or which one is this? Your first one?
This is my first one.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
You know
Okay.
how special them first ones are.
Okay. Yeah.
She's my first grandchild and Mama and Daddy's first great grandchild.
Oh wow.
Wow. I bet Mr. Ball is having a field day with her.
Oh, he wishes that before he got sick, before he took that shot and got sick, he could pick her up and hold her and hold her. He calls her Buddha baby
It's like a little Buddha.
because she looks like a happy Buddha.
I'll show you a picture of her in a minute. But yeah.
Yeah. But he calls her Buddha baby. and she answers to it. When we walk in with her over there, he'll say something about Boo Baby, and she looks at him. She knows exactly who he's talking to.
I know it.
Sweet.
But it just kills him that he can't pick her up right.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does.
When you hold her, you hold her. I mean, you got to be. It takes a lot of strength and a lot of observation to keep hold of that little girl.
Wow, I'm not surprised.
But yeah, it just kills him that he can't hold her, and she wants to go to him so bad.
I'm sure she does, man, because like I said, that's that first one. It gets easier after the first one because I'm at number 4 now, thanks to my oldest son. So yeah, and he's got all boys. So far.
Oh.
So
yeah.
Far. Yeah,
so
exactly.
You need a little girl.
You know what? I keep telling him that if he keeps on doing what he's doing, he's gonna pop out a girl. But so far he's the only one. So, but
yeah, she is a joy, without a doubt. She is a joy,
really.
And
sweet.
she's one of these kids that she goes 90 to nothing the whole time she's away, and then all of a sudden she'll get still and she's out.
Oh, keep her busy, knock out. That's
there
good.
you go. That's what's up. But,
well, it is truly.
You would not think, as fat as she is, that she was as busy as she is.
I believe
that
it.
girl
Oh yeah, me too.
And she is nosy.
I believe it.
Well, it has truly been a joy speaking with you today, and it was. Thank you so much for your story. And please call in more and give us more of those cute little gems that you dropped on us today, because very inspirational.
Definitely.
And if you can, just speak to those young men and just let them know from Reggio and Mimi the lady, please keep your head up. Don't let this deter them from anything they want to do in life. It's just a stepping stone that they need to step across and keep going forward.
There you go.
That's what
Yep.
Did you lose her?
Yeah, that's right.
I can't hear it. You lose her?
Nah, she's still here.
Okay.
Yeah.
your future.
Oh, okay. Yes,
you do it
ma'am.
yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly. Well, Roxanne, we'll let you go because, like I said, we've enjoyed you. And by all means, call. We do this show every day, every Wednesday at around 7 o'clock. We was late today, but, we usually do it around about 7 o'clock. So by all means, call in anytime you want.
Right. Definitely.
All righty.
Yeah.
Well, thank y'all much for having me.
Not a problem. Not a problem. We'll
Absolutely.
talk to you later.
Okay. Have a good night.
All right.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Wow. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, I just wanted her to tell that story, man, because, I know Kevin Williams. I grew up with Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up with Kevin's sister, Beverly.
Mm-hmm.
So, that had to be told because I didn't think that, what was going on with her son was fair.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew why he was going through it is because of the fact that he's a so-called minority.
Yeah, I wonder why these kids have so many problems.
Exactly.
Unbelievable.
Exactly. So, but anyway, we had a good conversation with Miss Roxanne.
Definitely.
So, I guess we can go ahead and just wrap the show up, baby.
Well, I do want to end the show on a positive note. Did you hear about the young man who got stopped from crossing at graduation because of the shoes that he had on? So his teacher took off his shoes and gave it to him so he can accept his diploma.
I
just want to say kudos to this teacher. The young man, the shoes were too big for the young man, but he scooted across that stage with them big shoes on to get his diploma.
Here's a question. What was wrong with the shoes he had on?
They was a different color than what the dress code. I think it was white and they were supposed to wear black. And then there's another one where it was I want to say he was a Mexican American. They had the flag and he tied it around his neck on top of his gown. They denied him his diploma. This is getting out of hand. I don't know what's going on in America, in the words of my co-host Mark.
Yes, indeed.
But something is going to have to give here real soon, because now they're affecting the babies.
When you start messing with the babies, man, the gloves are off. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's just not fair. I mean, you don't start, you don't mess the babies,
Right.
man.
And I brought that story up. It kind of ties back what Miss Roxanne was talking about. Why would they pick those 3 individuals out of all? She said, what, 17 young men?
Yeah.
And just those 3 was picked out the crowd to be expelled since January for the end of the year?
Yeah.
That's what, 5-6 months?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And Roxanne brought up a really good point. I mean, her dad on several occasions would ask me, Reggie, you got a pocket knife? Yeah, Mr. Bell, here you go. You cut what he had to cut, here you go. Give it back to me. And it wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, and also, you know, we had people that would have their own vehicles and whatnot, and they literally had guns in their vehicles. We didn't think anything of it. You know, because it wasn't a problem.
Well, now it is. It's like
now
she said.
is.
It's a
it's a federal offense now.
It's a defense, right?
But still, you know, back when we were coming up in high school, it wasn't that big of a deal because a lot of the guys, they would after they left class or whatever, they would go hunting and whatnot. So, and it's not like they pulled the guns out, but we knew they were there because we could see them.
Right. Well, I agree with now pulling them, not having them because of so many.
I agree with
mass
you.
School
right,
shootings.
Exactly. I see it now.
Yeah,
but still.
how this man gonna have 4? This young man gonna have 4. He gets 1 day suspension.
Right. I don't get it.
Now, call me loony batoonie, but is that racism?
That's a good question.
Am I thinking too big on the situation?
That is a really good question.
Because everybody else was what, black, white, Mexican, mixed. A whole 5 months suspension.
Yeah.
This young man was white, dating the DA or the sheriff's daughter.
Right.
Had a major felony in his car with 4 guns in his truck.
And nothing happened to him. One thing he got was a slap on the wrist.
Right. So to me, if it ain't racism, it's tap dancing on that line.
Yes, indeed.
It's tap dancing. So the kids, y'all gotta leave these kids alone.
They gotta leave these babies alone, man. It's getting to the point now to where, you know, these children are going to hate going to school.
Absolutely.
It's getting to that point now.
And that's what I would call critical race theory.
Exactly. That is very critical. That is very critical. So.
Well, good show today, sir.
Yes, indeed.
Very
yes, indeed.
Good topic.
Unfortunately, Lester had to get off, but you know he said he'll come back on the next one.
Hey, Leslie, good to hear from you. Hope we can hear from you next week.
And I think we were having some technical issues because Les said he couldn't hear us for the first 30 minutes of the show.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, but I think I know what the problem was. You know, I think the mic was the sound card was switched.
Oh, okay.
Because I did an upgrade today, and that's probably screwed everything up.
Okay.
But anyway, we'll get it corrected next show.
Worked out.
Oh yeah, we'll get corrected next show, so we'll have a better show.
We started slow, but came in hard at the end.
Yeah,
so
always, man.
Always.
That's usually how it works, man. So you know, we'll be all right. We'll be okay. And a lot of people kept getting on and dropping off, and I think that's probably why.
Oh, okay, they couldn't hear. Okay.
Yeah, they couldn't hear anything. So you know, but we
probably need to do a part 2 of this next week.
You know what? We probably will. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking about doing. So we'll just go ahead and continue this on.
Because I want to talk about. Why is it that critical race theory is such a big deal now in politics? Shout out to Marvin.
Oh, there you go.
we didn't get a chance to touch on that. So yeah, let's do a part 2 next week.
Yeah. That's a good idea. We'll do a part 2 of it next week.
Cool.
So we'll get that taken care of. So
nice.
I guess we can go ahead and wrap it up.
All right. Don't forget to subscribe.
Hit that like button, man. Hit that little bell icon.
Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a sister and a brother.
Tell everybody, man. You know,
Absolutely.
Everybody. We welcome all audiences, man. We don't really care.
And if you have any thoughts on the show, please let us know. Please join the chat line and let us know your thoughts as the show goes along.
Yes, indeed.
And always call the...
Oh, yeah. Call the number, man. It's right there. 469-638-3459. By all means, call us. Let us know what's up. And we'll go from there. But in the meantime, I'm Reggio.
And I am Mimi the Lady.
And we out, y'all.
Bye.